I'm Josh Light with PoliticIt.com. I'm here with Soren Simonsen in Salt Lake City. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
And you're running for Congress in District 3, is that correct?
Yeah, Utah's 3rd district, the southeast part of the state.
And you've done some work in the private sector. You've been an architect for some time, is that right?
I've practiced in the Salt Lake, Utah County, really throughout the whole 3rd district for the last 20 years as an architect. Came here from Austin, Texas, and have been here ever since.
And how is that helping you for running or being a congressman?
Well, there's a lot of infrastructure from transit to facilities that are managed. A big part of our U.S. budget goes towards facilities and infrastructure that support communities. So having a sound understanding of how those things work, how you fund them, how you build them, plays a big part in the budgeting process.
And you've also been with the Salt Lake City Council, is that right?
Yeah, I'm currently the chair of the council. I've served 2 terms. I was first elected in 2005 and re-elected in 2009, and it's been a great experience working in the Salt Lake community. One of the things that I've learned probably more than anything is how important partnerships are with the state and the federal government, because everything we do is about partnership.
And have you been using social media in your campaign?
I've been using it. We're building capacity right now, but I've been a big fan of Facebook and Twitter for a few years. Have just a few things we're starting to get up on YouTube. Great tools, limited impact right now, but certainly as you build your audience and more people see what's going on, it can have a much broader reach than even a lot of other traditional media.
And we noticed that you actually have more people talking about you on Facebook than Jim Matheson, who's a current congressman, Democratic congressman in District 2. Why do you think people are talking about you so much on Facebook?
Well, I think being a new face in the congressional race, it probably have a lot of interest. I think there are a lot of people that are, quite frankly, looking at seeing somebody new in the 3rd district, and so that probably has created a lot of buzz as well.
And what issues are you concerned about nationally?
Probably 3 things are at the top of my list. The first one is ethics reform. I am very concerned about the impact of corporations and the whole move to amend Citizens United case that has, even before our eyes, transformed the way campaigns are funded. Campaign finance reform is a very big issue to me. I've worked on it a little bit at the local level, but have ideas that I think will be really useful, and quite frankly, more and more Americans are demanding. I think if you look at the kind of voter turnout and the decline in participation by Americans, I think a lot of it has to do with the quality of candidates and, quite frankly, how we fund elections. In addition to ethics, I'm very interested in equality. I think that in a pluralistic society, although people have their individual values that they feel strongly about, and I have my own beliefs and values as an American, we need to make sure that we're not using those values and trumping other people's ability to practice and exercise their own rights. And that's challenging, and it's increasingly challenging because we're not predominantly a Christian society anymore. We've got a lot of other people here, and so we need to expand our thinking and and recognize that we can continue to hold our personal values while we're tolerant, and not try and impose morality on others. And freedom to marry who you want is a big issue for me. I think it's been dominated largely by Christian society and Christian morals, and I think we need to realize that that is simply a guaranteed right of the Constitution, that we don't create Christian values or Christian morals that are, even though they may be my personal beliefs, I can't impose those on others that don't have those same beliefs. The last area that is really of great interest to me is the environment, and that is both the environment of our cities, cities that respond to 21st century needs, and the way that we are looking at the future as elected officials, I think, is greatly undermining our ability to plan and prepare ourselves for the impacts of the 21st century. If you look at population growth, if you look at natural resource issues, if you look at the kinds of urban issues as more people are living in cities than ever before in the history of society, it's very important that we are making long-term decisions to address those needs. And that's the environment in the city. In the same time, we have to look at the environment outside of the city. What's happening with agriculture, how we're preparing ourselves to continue to focus on keeping our quality agricultural lands in productive use to meet our food and other needs, and also how we continue to maintain our public lands in Utah, especially because they are so heavily used and they're really part of our cultural identity in Utah. And the land grab that's going on right now at the state and federal level, I think, is something that can be managed effectively if it's not a political issue. But we understand that public lands in Utah are there for public use predominantly, and not for a few special interests, particularly financial or corporate interests. And we need to make sure that that viewpoint of Utahns is being represented well.
So you mentioned public lands in Utah. What else? What other issues are you concerned about in Utah locally?
Well, some of the major local issues, especially along the Wasatch Front, are air quality and transportation. Air quality is increasingly becoming one of our greatest health risks, public health risks. And so expanding alternative transportation, which people are embracing, whether it's light rail or commuter rail or streetcars or bicycle or pedestrian, as fast as we're building those systems, people are changing and redefining their ways of getting around to use them. And there's huge demand, and the funding scenario has greatly undervalued. And quite frankly, when you consider that a third of our population doesn't drive a single occupant vehicle, or maybe even more than that, we're certainly not putting our funding where the demand and the need is. And that's something that I think we need to change. But as we address transportation holistically, we'll also address air quality issues. And that's a growing concern that's right at the top of my list.
And how is fundraising for you going in this race?
Well, fundraising is slow. I think the economy certainly is playing a part in how willing people are to give. I think the participation in the political process in general has really left a lot of people kind of jaded. And so, for me, it's all about grassroots. I'm really not soliciting a lot from special interest groups or corporate interests. I'm really focusing on a grassroots campaign, and that includes at the fundraising level. So we're collecting a lot of donations at the $20 and $50 level, and that'll probably be the bulk of the money we raise. So I'm not looking to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, but every dollar that we raise is going to be put to good use. And quite frankly, I want people to hang on to their money because it can do a lot more, as with our tax system, in their pocket than in somebody else's.
Thanks for meeting with us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and this is a great opportunity to connect with voters. And I guess just to put in a final plug, if anyone wants more information, they can go to sorensimonsen.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, so there's lots of ways to connect and get information about the campaign. And I just want to remind people that this campaign's all about connecting with Utah. I know the 3rd District well. I'm excited to represent the 3rd District. And I hope people will take a look and get beyond the party connections and really look at the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.